Hello everybody, welcome to Live Interactive English. I am Shane.
And I'm Karen. Hey Shane.
Hi.
You know, I wanted to share something with you. I went to
Money? Food.
No, I'm not sharing money.
High five?
I'm not
Love
sharing food with you.
Okay.
But I want to share, you know, like I went to Longshan Temple the other day because I was just walking around, and then I saw this place, like this area right next to Longshan Temple. It was actually very, very nice. And then it looks like an old street. And then with like the red brick houses. And then you get a little taste of the history of Taiwan, you know, when walking around in that area. Because usually when you go to like, you know, some Xinyi district or Nehu or something like that, all you see is like skyscrapers.
Right.
But that area is completely different.
Maybe like with like the brick, like the red brick.
Yes.
Like that. I think
It's kind of like Jiufen, you know?
Yeah, I think you're talking about Bopiliao.
I'm talking, what? What is that?
Bopiliao? It's the name of an area?
Bopiliao?
Yes.
Okay, that's the name of that area?
Yes.
You know it?
Of course, it's pretty famous.
I didn't know anything about it. What's there to see?
Well, I mean, that's what we're going to find out about today, actually.
Okay, well, I did enjoy my little walk around that area though, because like everything was so different from the city.
Well, since you don't know anything about it, that's what part one is. It's Bopiliao Historic Block, a relic in plain sight.
All right,
Let's get started.
Let's get started.
Found in the heart of Taipei's oldest district, Bopiliao Historic Block serves as a cross-section of Taiwan's modern history. Each period of Taiwan's complex story is represented there, with buildings whose origins range from the Qing dynasty to the days of Japanese rule to the period of martial law. During the Qing dynasty, Mengjia, today's Wanhua district, was one of Taiwan's three major ports, along with Fucheng and Lugang. For years, Bopiliao Street, or Fupiliao Street, as it was called then, was Mengjia's business hub. During Japanese rule, it was renamed Beipiliao Street, but its name would later change again.
Looking at part one of Bopiliao Historic Block, a relic in plain sight today. Wow,
Right,
Bopiliao.
So it's like a block, just meaning like an area, right? Okay, and it's hidden in plain sight? What does that mean if something's hidden in plain sight?
I think that means that it's hidden, but then you can actually see it, right?
Right, so it's there to be found if you're looking for it, right? So you can't see it, but people don't really know about it, right?
That's right.
So if something's hidden in plain sight, that's what it means.
And we also have the word relic too, right?
What's a relic?
Relic is kind of like, you know, something that maybe a trace of the past or an object that has survived from the past, right?
Right, so this is kind of like an old area that's kept going and going. It's a historic area, which is an adjective meaning that it's important in history, and it's likely to be thought of as important at some time in the future. So it's going to continue on being something that people are going to know and remember. Right? So for example, you can say, many visitors like to go to the town's historic streets and take photos.
That's right. A lot of people like to do that, right?
Because it's so cool, like especially in Bopiliao. It's like you have all these red bricks and you really feel like you're in the past, so you've got to take cool pictures.
Exactly. And I think the cool thing about Bopiliao is that you don't really have to travel very far. Now get away from the city, leave Taipei in order to do that. Because usually some people go to like Jiufen,
right?
That's right.
That's what I was
They
thinking
have a
of.
really famous old street as well. They also have the red brick houses. But this is like right here. So, found in the heart of Taipei's oldest district, Bopiliao Historic Block serves as a cross-section of Taiwan's modern history. Okay, so, you know, I think that's a very, very cool place to visit. Although I have, you know, I actually stumbled around there, now that area when I visited, but I would definitely pay another visit.
That seems to happen to me quite often. I'm just walking around and all of a sudden, like, all the buildings change and they're like bricks. I'm like, I must be somewhere like famous or like something historical right now, but I have no idea where I am.
Exactly. It's like you're in a different place.
That's what I like about Taipei. It has a lot of cool little places to explore and find.
Variety.
Yes. Okay, continuing. Each period of Taiwan's complex story is represented there, with buildings whose origins range from the Qing dynasty to the days of Japanese rule to the period of martial law. Wow.
So to the period of martial law, though, we know that Taiwan was governed and ruled by Japan and also the Qing dynasty. But we also have a period of martial law in Taiwan, right? In our history. What does that mean by martial law?
Right. So if it's controlled under martial law, that just means that the military is controlling the civilian population. So the government's not in place, and oftentimes it's because they've overthrown the government, and now the military commander basically has absolute authority over a region.
And I'm not really sure, but I think maybe sometimes you could have like curfews as well, where you can't go out after a certain time, right? Okay, so we have this word complex, and right here we're using it as an adjective, and so it means that something that's made of many different things or parts that are connected, or something that is difficult to understand. So for example, this law may affect society in complex ways that we haven't considered.
It's quite closely related to the word like complicated too, right?
That's what I think of too when I see this word.
During the Qing dynasty, Mengjia, today's Wanhua district, was one of Taiwan's 3 major ports along with Fucheng and Lukang. Okay.
Mengjia is actually Wanhua, right? That's the district, right?
Right.
I actually don't live too far away from that area, but I know there's a famous movie, what is that called? Manga, right?
Oh yeah, right. There was a movie about that.
That's right, and then I think that's why this place became so famous.
I did see it. It was a cool movie.
Exactly. So for years, Bopiliao Street, or Bopiliao Street as it was called then. So before, Bopiliao, it was actually called Bopiliao.
Right.
Was Mengjia's business hub. So when we say it was Mengjia's business hub, that means in this area, in this center, a lot of people do business here, right?
So like in a wheel or something like that, the hub is the middle, so everything goes from the hub or you go to the hub.
Exactly.
Right?
So that's kind of like the center, right?
Exactly.
Where it was like really, really busy. So during Japanese rule, it was renamed Bopiliao Street. Okay, so during that time when we were governed or ruled by Japan, it was actually called Bopiliao.
Okay.
But its name would later change again. Okay.
So it's gone through a lot of different changes in names.
That's why we can learn so many stories about it and a lot of history of Taiwan.
Okay, why don't we take a short break and we'll continue learning more about Bopiliao after the break.
Can't wait.
Hello， 大家好，我是 Hanny。今天的课文标题是 Bopiliao Historic Block, a relic in plain sight。剥皮寮历史街区一览无遗的遗址。我们先看到标题里面有单字 historic， 它是形容具有历史意义的、历史性的。你在后面加上 al， 变成另外一个形容词 historical， 它则是描述历史的、历史上的，或是基于史实的、史学的。好，再看到 relic 这个名词，它表示遗迹、遗址或是遗物。那么 in plain sight 则是表达一览无遗、一目了然。好，那看完标题，同学们你有去过剥皮寮吗？我跟 Karen 老师一样，都是某次走路经过才偶然发现这个有趣的地方。那老师用到 stumble 这个动词 ，stumble 可以表达偶然发现、碰巧遇到。那它后面常常会搭配介系词 across、on 或者是 upon。好，那么课文写到说，剥皮寮历史街区位于台北最古老的地区的中心，是台湾现代历史的代表。台湾复杂的故事的每一个时期都在那里呈现出来了。那它的建筑起源是从清朝到日治时期到戒严时期。好，那在清朝的时候，蒙甲就是今天的万华区，以及府城还有鹿港并列为台湾的3大港。那么多年来，剥皮寮街是蒙甲的商业中心，它在当时被称为浮皮寮街。那么在日治时期被改名为北皮寮街，后来又改名了。来看单字 complex。 complex 它是形容词，形容错综复杂的。那文中的 martial law 它是指军事管制或是戒严。那么 Karen 老师刚刚则提到 curfew。curfew 表示宵禁。好，这边2个重点，我们进入文法时间。好，那么第一个重点是 range 不同词性的用法。首先，当动词的话，它可以表达在一定范围内的变化、变动，后面常常会接 from A to B 或者是 between A and B。举例来说 ，The temperature in this area can range from 15 degrees Celsius to 29 degrees Celsius。这个地区的温度是在摄氏15度到摄氏29度之间。好，在 range 当名词呢，它可以表达同类事物的一系列啊，或是一连串。我们常常用 a range of 加名词来表达各式各样的什么。后面你可以接复数可数名词或是不可数名词。那 range 的前面你还可以加上形容词，像 wide、broad、whole 等等来修饰。例如 The store sells a wide range of coffee beans。这间店有卖各式各样的咖啡豆。好，下一个重点是 along with， 它表示以及、连同，就跟 as well as 或者是 together with 意思相同。后面你可以接人或事物。举例来说 Amy will be there along with her husband and children。 Amy 以及她的丈夫、小孩都会到场。好，这句话课文中。
When spoken in Taiwanese Hokkien, the word bay can mean either north or to peel. In Mandarin, the word meaning to peel is pronounced bo. And so, over time, Bopiliao Street became the common name. In 2003, the city government began restoring Bopiliao Historic Block, and it reopened to the public in 2009. Bopiliao Historic Block's buildings offer views of Taiwan's past. The nearly 100-year-old Sun Binding Factory was one of the first bookbinding factories in Taipei. Workers here bound a range of books, from dictionaries to comic books.
Welcome back, everyone. So we are still talking about this really interesting place in Taipei called Bopiliao. That's right. So if you want to experience a little bit of, like Taiwanese culture and history, I think this is the place to go where you don't have to travel very, very far. It's this little area very close to Longshan Temple.
You can also say it's a hidden gem.
Oh, you are right.
When we're saying something that's hidden, like in
Something
plain
that's
sight,
great.
you can also call that a hidden gem.
That's right. So Bopiliao is definitely a hidden gem, right?
Right.
And we're going to talk more about it right now.
Okay. When spoken in Taiwanese Hokkien, the word bay can mean either north or to peel.
Oh, okay.
Interesting. So bay, like in Mandarin, is also means
Bay.
north, right? Okay. So to peel. So to peel means to take the outer layer off of something, right?
Like peeling a banana.
Right. Or for example, Tom peeled the apple before he ate it.
Or you don't really have to. You can also eat the skin too. Okay, let's continue. In Mandarin, the word meaning to peel is pronounced bo. And so, over time, Bopiliao Street became the common name. And I think now that, I hear it so often because we're learning about it, I think it's actually a really fun name to say.
Yeah,
right? Bopiliao. And then I think it's really easy to remember too.
But it's not that easy to pronounce.
Oh, well, we can try together. Bopiliao. That's right.
Is that right?
I think so. You pronounced it very well. And that's our
you.
next vocabulary word. To pronounce something, that is a verb. So basically it just means to make the sound of a word or letter in a particular way. Okay, so for example, Evan asked his teacher to pronounce the English word for him because sometimes when you haven't heard it, you don't know how to say it. You don't know how to pronounce it. So, asking someone to pronounce it for you, it can help you with your speaking.
Yeah, and often when you read a word, you have no idea how it's pronounced. But at least in English, like we have an alphabet, so that helps. But like in Chinese, if I just see Chinese characters, like I have no idea how to pronounce it.
Exactly, unless you have learned it before, right? So all these are like little symbols.
And then Chinese has tones.
Yes.
They make it even more difficult to pronounce things.
But your Chinese is pretty good, I would say.
Okay, let's continue before my face gets too red.
Okay.
In 2003, the city government began restoring Bopiliao Historic Block, and it reopened to the public in 2009.
So what does it mean when they say, begin restoring Bopiliao?
Well, to restore it, if you restore something, that means that you're trying to bring it back to its original condition. So to means do it again. So to restore is to make it like how it used to be.
That's right.
So it took 6 years restoring it.
Wow.
That's kind of a long time for it to kind of be closed down.
That's true. And then reopen to the public again. So that means maybe they want to attract some tourists, right?
I bet that's the reason why they went ahead to do this restoration, is to probably get more tourists in there, and that can help bring more money into the city, right?
Exactly. So Bopiliao Historic Block's buildings offer views of Taiwan's past. The nearly 100-year-old sun binding factory was one of the first bookbinding factories in Taipei. Wow, that's one of the first bookbinding factories in Taipei. So I guess the factories then and now would look very, very different, right?
Yeah, and I imagine there are probably fewer and fewer bookbinding factories in the world, since everything now is digital.
Exactly. So I think it's worth visiting because you kind of, get a little taste of the past.
So we say bookbinding factory. So to bind means to tie something or maybe even somebody with rope, string, etc. So the idea is that it can't move, or that it can be held together very firmly or strongly. So an example sentence, I bound the book by hand. So you kind of put it together and you bind it so that it won't come apart, right?
And bound is the past tense, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so let's continue on with the article. Workers here bound a range of books, from dictionaries to comic books. Wow. So now, thinking back, it's so different from how we read nowadays. A long time ago, if you want to find out, the definition of a word, you have to go buy a dictionary.
Right.
Or if you want to read comic books, you have to go and buy comic books. But like you said, everything is digitalized, right? So everything is on the computer, on your phone, so you don't really have to buy it in book form.
That would probably be a really cool place to go and visit, because books are becoming less and less common, right? And to go see how books were bound like a long time ago, I think that would be like a really cool thing to check out.
And learn about our past, right?
Absolutely.
That's really meaningful. Well, that's all the time we have for today. But don't worry, we'll be back for more.
Part 2, right?
That's right. We'll learn more about Bopiliao in part 2.
Okay.
See you next time.
See you there.
Shane 老师刚刚用到 a hidden gem 来描述剥皮寮，字面意思是隐藏的宝石，那就是用来比喻鲜为人知或者是未获重视的珍贵事物。这个 gem G-E-M 它可以表达宝石或是珍宝。好，那么刚刚说在日治时期被改名为北皮寮街，这个北用台语念的时候，我们说吧，就是北或者是剥皮那个剥嘛。那么后来剥皮寮街就成了一个通称了。市政府在2003年开始修复剥皮寮历史街区，那么2009年重新对外开放。文中用到 restore 这个动词来表达修复，那它的名词是去一加上 ation 变成 restoration， 表示修复或是重建。再来单字 peel 这个动词，它有削皮啊、剥皮的意思。pronounce 是当动词，则是表达发音、读音的意思。好，课文接着介绍了有将近100年历史的太阳制本所 它是台北最早的书籍装订厂之一。这边的工人装订了各式各样书籍，从字典到漫画书都有哦。好 ，bind 这个动词它就有装订书籍呀，把什么装订成册的意思。它的动词三态是 bind、bound、bound。那我们的复合形容词 book binding 就是表达装订书籍的。老师们提到说，现在很多书籍都数位化了。那老师们用到 digitalize 这个字 ，digitalize，digitalize 这个动词就表示数位化。这边一个重点，我们进入文法时间。好，我们来看这个重点是 either A or B， 这表示不是 A 就是 B。那么 either or 是用来连接词性相同的字词，去表达选择啊或是可能性。像 I can't remember his name, it's either Gavin or Greg。我不记得他的名字诶，不是 Gavin 就是 Greg。好，那么特别注意 either A or B 当主词的时候，这个动词啊必须跟比较靠近的那个名词 B 主词 B 一致。举例来说 ，either you or Jamie has to fix the problem。不是你就是 Jamie 得解决这个问题。那最靠近动词的主词是 Jamie， 所以我们后面是搭配 has to 而不是 have to。好，那么以上这些讲解，同学别走开，马上回来哦。
Found in the heart of Taipei's oldest district, Bopiliao Historic Block serves as a cross-section of Taiwan's modern history. Each period of Taiwan's complex story is represented there, with buildings whose origins range from the Qing dynasty to the days of Japanese rule to the period of martial law. During the Qing dynasty, Mengjia, today's Wanhua district, was one of Taiwan's three major ports, along with Fucheng and Lugang. For years, Bopiliao Street, or Fupiliao Street, as it was called then, was Mengjia's business hub. During Japanese rule, it was renamed Bopiliao Street, but its name would later change again. When spoken in Taiwanese Hokkien, the word Bei can mean either north or to peel. In Mandarin, the word meaning to peel is pronounced Bo. And so, over time, Bopiliao Street became the common name. In 2003, the city government began restoring Bopiliao Historic Block and had reopened to the public in 2009. Bopiliao Historic Block's buildings offer views of Taiwan's past. The nearly 100-year-old Sun Binding Factory was one of the first bookbinding factories in Taipei. Workers here bound a range of books, from dictionaries to comic books.
Hello, I'm Matt. Today we're playing Word Drop. We each have 3 cards that we haven't looked at yet, and on these cards are words or phrases that we need to fit into a conversation as smoothly as we can. So I guess I'm going to get the conversation started here.
Okay.
So let's see. Ooh. Let me just... Okay. Oh yeah, I've been planning a trip abroad, and so I've been looking at booking flights, but right now all the flights are quite expensive. Everywhere you want to go, it's very expensive, so I'm trying to find a way to make it as cheap as possible by having like a stop over here, stop over there, but it's really, at this point now I have some very, complex travel plans.
Oh, those are complex travel plans.
Yes.
You have to stop. You can't just go directly, right? It's nice if you can have a direct flight, but yeah, having to stop at different places is kind of inconvenient, but it is cheaper. So the thing I like about flights is going places, but the thing I don't like is food. Last time they gave me a banana and I had to peel it.
Wow. That's it. Yeah, I don't know much about bananas on flights. Sometimes, doing this job, we film scenes, and there are some words where I have a Canadian accent, So some words, like when I say the word sorry, they don't like the way I say it. They say I should say sorry, but that's not how we pronounce it in Canada.
That is true. Yeah, we do usually say sorry, but yeah, in the US, you usually say sorry. But yeah, I think back to talking about travel, one thing that I like to do when I travel, I like to go see a lot of tourist attractions, maybe buildings that are super famous for whatever reason, right? Maybe it's very unique, or maybe it's a very historic building.
Oh yeah, I think historic sites are interesting. And I like looking at historic sites in cities, but sometimes also when I'm traveling, I have to decide to see, either cities or nature.
Oh, I like seeing nature. I think especially, I actually like winter nature, which is strange, or like nature in the winter time, because the summer is too hot, I think. So especially places, Taiwan doesn't really have snow, but I like seeing nature in the wintertime in places like Canada or northern part of the US where we have snow. And in addition, I just like, last winter, we got a lot of ice along with the snow.
Oh, okay. Is that we got a lot of?
Along with.
Along with, okay.
See you next time.